Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the closed session meeting of the City Council on January 16th, 2024. We will call today's meeting to order at 5:01. And can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Here.
Councilmember White?
Here.
Councilmember Voigt stated she would be absent this evening. Mayor Pro Tem Lara?
Here.
Mayor Finn?
Here. And do we have any public comments for closed session?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, thank you. And our city attorney representative is Lena Waite. And can we have you read our items for closed session?
Yes, Mayor. The first item, B1, is conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D1, DeReich versus Beaumont et al. B2, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation pursuant to the same code section. The matter is Illaputafe et al. Versus City of Beaumont et al. B3, conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation pursuant to Government Code Section, same as above. This is the matter of Beaumont versus PB 240 LLC et al. B4, conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Property at issue is north of 5th Street, east of California Street. The APN is stated therein. Agency negotiator is the city manager, Elizabeth Gibbs, or her designee. And the negotiating parties are City of Beaumont as a potential purchaser and Douglas Jones as a potential seller. Under negotiation are the price and terms.
Thank you, and we will adjourn to closed session at 5:03. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the regular session of the city council meeting. I will call the meeting to order at 6:08 PM. Can we have a roll call, please? Here.
Councilmember White,
Here.
Councilmember Voigt, Mayor Pro Tem Laura,
Here.
Mayor Finn.
Here. And then can we have a report back on closed session?
Yes, Mayor. With respect to item B1 involving existing litigation regarding Carolyn DeRike, no reportable action. Item B2 regarding existing litigation involving Ilaputafe, no reportable action. Item B3 regarding PB 240 LLC, no reportable action. Item B4 regarding property negotiations involving north of 5th Street, east of California Street, no reportable action.
All right, thank you. And then we have an excused absence with Councilmember Voigt, who is not here with us this evening. And we will open this evening's meeting with an invocation by Pastor Brian Burson of Sandals Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Martinez. And then for the council, Pastor Brian has asked for a photo with us. And so we'll do that after the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to city council members, I just want to say thank you for all that you guys do. We're grateful for your commitment to our community. So with that, let me go ahead and pray. Lord, I thank you for this city council room. I know that so many decisions are made here, so many critical decisions for our city and communities and for our families. And I thank you and am grateful for those who you've placed into these positions of authority. And I just pray you give them wisdom. Lord, your word promises if anyone needs wisdom, let them ask God who gives liberally without finding fault. And so that's what I ask on their behalf. Just give them just a blessing of wisdom for them to navigate difficult and challenging decisions on behalf of our community. And Lord, as they look to this new year, I pray that this would be just a prosperous year for our community, and something that we see as the community is growing and developing and maturing. I pray, Father, that this would just be a season where families are seeing the blessings of living here, and new families who are coming in would enjoy that as well. I pray also, Lord, for Lord, our law enforcement officers. I pray for our chief of police. I just pray, Lord, you'd guide him and direct him as he tries to provide protection for our community and for his officers. And Lord, you put a wall of protection around them. So we just commit them to you. We thank you for this gift of our community and the resources here. And we pray these things in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the pledge. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
Pastor Burson, we want to come up here? Come on around if you like.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you both for that. And do we have any adjustments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. And then any conflict of interest disclosures this evening? Okay. And on to announcements and recognition. We have a recognition of our Beaumont High School football coach, Jeff Steinberg. And so I've got some information to read and share with you all this evening. The City Council is so proud to stand before, or to be here before you, Coach Steinberg, and we are honored today to recognize your latest achievement. You picked up a huge honor by the Los Angeles Rams organization this past December, being named Coach of the Year at the December 17th pregame show of the Rams versus Washington Commanders game. The competition was fierce, but you prevailed despite 20 other candidates being considered. Coach Steinberg, you are well known for leading and inspiring our youth to be both great on and off the field. This I'm really excited about too. The team was recognized by Riverside County Office of Education for having the highest GPA of all football teams in the county, with a 3.5 cumulative GPA. On the field, the team has a regular season record of 8-2 and qualified for the CIF Division III playoffs after finishing third place in a very competitive competitive Citrus Belt League. Your exceptional coaching, player development, and the ability to inspire both on the field and in the classroom makes you exceptional. We thank you, and we'd like to invite, well, before we do that, the certificate of recognition says the following. City of Beaumont awards this certificate of recognition to Jeff Steinberg. On behalf of the Beaumont City Council, we'd like to recognize your achievement of being selected as Coach of the Year. You have demonstrated exemplary qualities of a coach and mentor on and off the field and continue to make the community proud. Thank you very much. And so we have some speakers from the Beaumont, from the school district, and we'd like to invite them up at this time.
Hi, I'm Jake Van Hofweg, and I'm the athletic director at Beaumont High School, and just going to speak on behalf of the district just a little bit about Coach Steinberg. This award, this recognition is definitely well-deserved. The work he does on our campus, he motivates not only the young men that are in the program, but also really the rest of the athletic department. There's a lot of excitement around the work that he's done, and a lot of coaches that want to emulate the energy and the enthusiasm and the drive for excellence that he carries into work each day. He's been at Beaumont High School for, I think it's 5 years now, and in each full season, he's led the team to at least 8 wins, which is and through the playoffs, which is definitely commendable. These types of awards are not just usually based on 1 year. Obviously, we did have a great year with a great record, a lot of great experiences and opportunities for the kids, as well as the GPA, and that's something that doesn't come naturally. That's because of him reminding them and staying on them each day. I know the work that he does there, but even beyond that, he's a nationally recognized coach. He speaks at national conferences. He's very well known, very well respected. To have a coach like that in our small community here in Beaumont, it's definitely very exciting. So we're appreciative. We're glad to have Coach Steinberg, and we're appreciative of the City Council for honoring him. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have anybody else? Coach, you got a word or two?
I'll keep it brief. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be recognized today by our mayor and city council. Very exciting. I truly love the job that I do, getting up to go to work every day and work with our future leaders of our city, and whether it's going to be local here in Beaumont, in Riverside, in California, or wherever they venture out. It's a process, but it's just great to be able to work and help develop young men into being people that are going to be upstanding members of their community. So thanks again. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And any comments from council? All right, so we're going to...
I just want to say again, I've had the pleasure of working with Coach Steinberg, and this is an outstanding gentleman, and I hear nothing about positive from his players, and my 2 sons played for him, and nothing great but great things to say. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to come down to you.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Smile for that. Did you get that? Okay. And then... Okay. Yeah, or we can go through.
We can get two rows here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so on to our public comment period. This is for, this is for any items that are not on tonight's agenda. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, sir, I have 3 in person.
Okay, so with that, I'll share this information with everyone. Any one person may address the city council on any matter not on this agenda. There's a 3-minute time limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking actions brought up by your comments. This meeting will be open to the public and conducted in a virtual format to be inclusive of all participation preferences. Public comment participation is encouraged by emailing any comments to the city clerk's office or by calling in using the phone number provided on the front of the agenda. Anyone in person wishing to speak can do so by filling out a form in the back of the room and handing it to a staff member. And so, Nicole, we can start with the first one.
Yes, first speaker is Ms. Ann Connors.
And don't be shy to pull that microphone down so we can hear you. There you go.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Here is how my New Year has been. My next door neighbor keeps feeding neighborhood cats. My front doors on 3 separate occasions have been sprayed by cats. I have chased cats out from under my bird feeders on numerous occasions. I chased a cat from behind my car so I could go grocery shopping. I was awakened in the middle of the night by a cat fight outside my bedroom. I have had to chase cats, single or in pairs, from my yard at the loud vocal request of my indoor cat while trying to eat, read, or watch TV every day. The area under my kitchen and dining room windows are used as bathrooms. Early one morning, a coyote carried off one of the cats. Over several years, I have been here numerous times in front of various council members with various solutions that have not worked. I am in no condition to keep defending myself. I can't even fill the bird feeders or clean the front doors by myself. Do I look like somebody that can chase cats all day? I can barely walk. I need help to stop this. You are my only hope. I refer you now to City Code number 6.02.080. I have copies to leave with you, along with copies of what I am saying now. Feel free to share what I'm saying now with my neighbor. The code provides an adequate solution to this problem. It clearly states that he has to provide proof of each cat being spayed or neutered. He will never do this. He will have to forfeit the cats with a warning of some kind linked to California's lawful standard of treatment of cats, which requires food, water, shelter, and veterinary care, which he will never provide. Unless he is cited, he will never stop. Please don't make me go through this until I die. It's getting harder and harder. I shouldn't have to live like this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ann, and I would like to ask that you, without disclosing, you don't need to disclose it, but to make sure that staff has your address so it can be looked into.
Yes, it's on this paper.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Keith Linton.
Good evening. So I'm here, I've lived in the city from now maybe about 20 years, so I thought it would be nice to come by and say thank you for all that the city does. I'm here just to give kudos, and one of the main reasons I actually live in the city is because of the police department. They're so kind, every one of them. They're good for public contact. You can walk up to any of them at any time. They're always so kind. During their lunch, they probably think, who's this knucklehead coming up here talking to me, but they always give me their time, and I just appreciate the police department so much. I appreciate the National Night Out. I actually sent an email to the chief, and he actually responded back, being grateful that I was grateful that the city's putting on events like this. So thank you for the community involvement. And let's see here. One of the suggestions that I have possibly is, when Caltrans has an accident on the freeway, they bring that little truck out and they say accident flashing. So maybe when there's an accident on the freeway, somehow the city has a vehicle that can tell the drivers, stay on the freeway. Because when they get out between Beaumont and Highland Springs, it's a complete nightmare. I mean, it's complete gridlock. So that's just a suggestion, somehow to keep those cars off until the streets, I'm sure someday, will be open. I have a comment regarding developers. We all like the city to grow, and I like them to grow too. I have no problem with anything coming to the city. I'm for big development, I'm for big warehouses, but it'd be real simple just to have the developers fix the traffic before they build a warehouse. Put in an off-ramp or an on-ramp before you put the warehouse in. Bring all the warehouses you want, but let's fix the infrastructure first, because as we know, they're off of Highland Springs by Albertsons. It's a nightmare with cars. I mean, it's terrible getting on the freeway. So that's that. And then my last comment would be, I happen to live in Four Seasons. And for some reason, our knucklehead management has contracted, I don't know who they signed a paper with, if it was the city or the police department, that they can bring policemen in to write tickets in our community, which I think that's our responsibility because it's on private property. So I think police officers would be better spent out in the community, maybe on Highland Springs, Beaumont, First Street, coming up from the Badlands, to give tickets out there than people just running stop signs within the community. So those are my suggestions. I love the city. I've lived here almost 20 years, and hopefully I'll come to more meetings, but thanks for what you do.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Next speaker is Barbara Baltiera.
Okay, my name is Barbara, and I'm coming to you in hopes of some kind of a resolution with mail theft. I live over in Seneca Springs. My backyard is right by yours. I see you guys. Anyhow, it's been going on for over 2 years. We were actually on the news a couple years ago, Seneca Springs was, for the mail theft. I've been told that somebody has a master key to the mailman's thing that opens all of them. Recently, someone tried to drill into it and it broke off, and the postman wasn't able to deliver any mail for the last week. And by chance, I got a hold of the post office and they said, we're holding your mail And anyhow, I'm just hoping if there's, I don't know what the solution would be. I'm all for the mailbox back on my front doorstep. I could secure my own lockbox or whatever. But when I went to the post office and I said, you know, what are we gonna do about this? And he said, it's the city's problem. So that's why I'm here tonight. He said, he goes, your guys' mailbox isn't in front of any houses. There's houses across the street. And he says, it needs to be in front of somebody's house. I said, what is that gonna do when they come in the middle of the night? And he, I said, it might deter them, but it's not gonna stop them. So it's, there's some things you can't do electronically, there's some things you have to get in the mail. Prescriptions, they have to be delivered to your mailbox. I won't do it because I don't know if they're gonna be there. So I'm just asking if there's something that can be done, a different type of a lock can be installed instead of the key lock, like a vending machine type of lock. Would that be harder for them to break into, a keypad code? I don't know. So I'm hoping I'm hoping for your help. It's everywhere in Beaumont. So, thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. We appreciate hearing from you.
Excuse me, Mayor. I'd like to make a comment to staff, please.
Sure.
Can we check with the post office? Because this has been going on for as long as I've lived here, which is almost 20 years, and it happens all over the city. And we've discussed this many times, and we know that we can't do anything about it. And for the post office to be telling our citizens that it's our responsibility, we need to make sure that it's clear that the message needs to go out to everyone at the post office, not just the postmaster. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, any other comments?
Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have one caller on the line.
Okay, go ahead and send them through. Caller, can you hear us?
Hello.
Go
Yes.
right ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, this is Ron Roy from Fairway Canyon. Like many Beaumont residents, I'm skeptical about the proposed Beaumont Point warehouse project in South Beaumont for a number of reasons. First, at the November 29th Planning Commission meeting, when I called in to speak during public comments on matters not on the agenda, regarding my concern that the newly appointed planning commissioners, Mario Garay and Philip Southard, may have a conflict of interest regarding warehouse projects under their review, needing them to explain their prior associations with Jeff Hewitt and other pro-warehouse interests, the Deputy City Clerk staff did not patch my call through, and public comments closed. Now, later in the agenda, when the hearing opened on Beaumont Point, and commissioners were discussing the project, I was given an opportunity to speak about recusal, but my comments could only be about recusal or other comments I prepared on Beaumont Point, but not both. So in the confusion, what I did not realize was that the commissioners needed to address recusal before discussing Beaumont Point. And I believe I was not given a fair opportunity to speak on this item as a standalone issue in the timely manner in which it was intended. Consequently, later in the agenda, when the Planning Commission heard Beaumont Point, neither appointee had addressed my recusal request. Philip Southard recused himself from Beaumont Point for conflict of interest without needing to answer my concern. However, Mario Garay continued on and involved himself in the hearing, which I thought was inappropriate. Therefore, I believe that Mario Garay's involvement in commission proceedings on Beaumont Point invalidates the commission's vote and requires a new commission hearing only after Mr. Garay explains the nature of his associations with Jeff Hewitt or any other parties involved in warehouse development. Please note, during city council interviews of planning commission candidates, neither Garay nor Southard were asked about whether they would have any conflict of interest with warehouses. The council should have asked these questions to all candidates, since the council knows that at least 2 massive warehouse projects will be under commission's review in the near future. Okay, another concern I have, it's on another point, is that the council is rushing to judgment on this warehouse hearing by scheduling it on February 6th. The developer has had 4 years to work regularly and in private with the city on this project. Residents cannot match this continuing access. Except for a handful of public comments during 2023, Beaumont residents have not had an opportunity to understand this project until the Planning Commission. Therefore, I'm asking if the council would consider scheduling Beaumont hearings as follows. Remand the project back to Planning Commission to resolve conflict of interest, after which an initial council hearing no early than April to only hear the information from the developer and the public without a council vote, and then maybe 45 days later you could vote if you wanted to.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roy. Any other public comments?
I have no others.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to our consent calendar. Do we have any items to be pulled for discussion? Any public comments on the consent calendar?
No written comments. Rudy, do we have any other callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
And then do we have any comments or questions from council or a motion?
Yeah, I have a motion, Mayor. I'll move to approve consent items G1 and G2.
I'll second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Voigt? No, sorry. Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. Thank you. And moving on to item H, our youth council report. Mr. Martinez, do we have one this evening?
Yes, we have a student here for a report. Students?
All right, very good. Come on up.
Hello, City Council. My name is Carlos Luna. I'm part of the Youth Council. I'm here to give you guys an update. Recently, we have created subcommittees to spread the awareness of the Youth Council, and we also had a guest speaker to come in and talk about engineering and economic engineering. So that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you for coming. Thanks for the report.
Thank you, Carlos.
Mr. Martinez, anything to add?
No, he did a great job on that, and the ad hoc committee that the set up will be looking up into possible flyers and pop-ups to help promote the youth council and awareness. So great job.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Mayor, I had a quick question.
Yes.
Comment. I like your shirt. Is this something that we've offered to all the members of the youth?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Very cool. Appreciate you wearing it. Thanks. All right, so on to public hearings. And our item I1 is public hearing and first reading of an ordinance amending the Beaumont Municipal Code title of Chapter 12.16, adding Chapter 12.18, and amend 17.04 overhead utilities. And we'll have a staff report by Mr. Robert Vestal.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Just for reference, this item was discussed at the December 19th, 2023 session. And start over. This item proposes to amend the municipal code by adding a chapter, specifically Chapter 12.18, entitled Undergrounding of Existing Overhead Utilities. The intent of the amendment is to address undergrounding of existing utilities. The current municipal code is very lacking on describing whether it's existing or proposed. Currently, the undergrounding chapters in Chapter 17.04.100, which is a zoning chapter. And it's vague in its description on whether, like I said before, it applies to new construction or existing construction. Therefore, staff would like to correct this by having a standalone chapter. This chapter will identify a minimum or maximum voltage threshold of 34.5 kilovolts, which is consistent with our surrounding neighbors. It'll establish a 300-foot maximum parcel width for in lieu fees, where they would pay in lieu fees rather than undergrounding the poles. And it also establishes a waiver process for projects that otherwise don't meet the requirements for in lieu fees, that at council's discretion could grant that an in lieu fee rather than construction. It would also amend the title of chapter 12.16 from utility undergrounding to undergrounding utility districts. Sorry, I had to look that up, I apologize. The staff report has a lot of additional information, but as I stated earlier, we did discuss this on December 19th, so that concludes my presentation. However, I'm happy to address any questions or comments.
All right, thank you. And so I will open the public hearing at 6:39. And do we have any public comments?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, and we'll close the public hearing at 6:39 as well. And then council discussion, any questions and so forth? Okay, seeing none, and I know that we debated this before, so I appreciate that. So are we ready for a motion? Or Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh,
You ready for the motion?
Yeah, I'm ready
Okay.
to make a motion, I'm just trying to find it real quick. Because, I mean, the explanation, the detail was so great the last time you provided that, so we appreciate that very much. So I'll make a motion to waive the first full reading and approve by title only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Beaumont, California, amending the title of Chapter 12.16, adding Chapter 12.18, and amending Chapter 17.04 of the City of Beaumont Municipal Code concerning requirements for the undergrounding of existing overhead utilities applicable to discretionary approvals related and to land use and development.
I'll second that. A roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. Thank you. And then we're on to item I2, public hearing and consideration of a resolution for the Third Amendment to the city's fiscal year 2023-2024 through 2027-2028 capital improvement plan. And we'll have a staff report by Ms. Jennifer Eustace.
Let me say a few words. Before we get to
Okay.
staff, I just wanted to let council know, we're going to try something new with our CIP amendments. So on your table, you should find a spreadsheet that our finance director has put together. And basically, this is a summary of all the money that we have and the different allocations. And I thought that this would be helpful when we talk about CIP projects so that you know exactly what you have in the bank. I know that comes up a lot with with unprogrammed funds and fund balance, and so now you'll have a cheat sheet in front of you every time we talk about capital improvement programs. So I'm going to kick it over to Jennifer, and then she's going to give it to Robert to talk about the different projects.
Do you have
Okay.
an extra copy?
Oh,
We got one right here.
Okay.
I
Thank
think
you.
I think Mayor Pro Tem took yours.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. So as City Manager explained, you all have a cheat sheet. It's also included as part of your packet this evening. And what this is there's a few projects that are being recommended to be spent by different pots of money. So I wanted to just put this together to show you the difference of the unprogrammed revenues, and as I like to explain it, is your checking account, right? So your current year budget, what you've estimated in revenues and what you have for expenditures. So you have more revenues estimated for the current fiscal year than you do expenditures, and so that's your unprogrammed revenues. Then we can go to unassigned fund balance reserves, or what I like to call savings, or you can also maybe hear it as called a rainy day reserve. These are prior year's accumulated balances, and so this is your unassigned amount that comes straight from your audited financial statements. And what this does is we can calculate that amount from the financial statements and then apply the City Council's policies for reserves there. So we have what your working cash flow reserve amount should be, your budget stabilization, emergency disaster, and then there's non-allocated available reserves. Those available reserves are available for City Council to program for different items that come up throughout the year, and that's from your fund balance. I've also listed on this cheat sheet some other pots of funds that the city council has for specific items. So there's a pension 115 trust balance, and that is a restricted balance that can be used for pension-related items. It could either be for the unfunded liability or for contributions. Say that there's a budget issue within a year, the city council can reimburse themselves for contributions. So it's there to be used if needed. And then you have a self-insurance reserve. So this is for any settlements or claims that are with the city. City council set up this fund with a minimum of $2 million. So as you can see on this sheet, there's 6.3 in there. So there's some money there too that city council commit as they see fit. So this cheat sheet is a living document, and as we go through and allocate or program these dollars, we'll update this and then put it in your staff reports so then you can see it. These dollars then do move over to your fiscal impact that's in the staff report this evening. And so you can see any items that are going to be deducted from these amounts on your cheat sheet. The fiscal impact is included within your staff report. And so before I pass it over to Robert, I want to see if any of you have any questions.
Any questions from council at this point? Oh, okay. Oh, go ahead.
Just so I understand, the unprogrammed revenues, this, as you said, again, if you just real quickly go over that again, this is our excess revenues basically for the
in the
last
current
fiscal
year. In the current year. So we're
year.
estimating our revenues were coming in for this current fiscal year, and then your expenditures. So normally if you say you have a balanced budget, it's either that your revenues equal or exceed expenditures. So in this case, your revenues exceed expenditures by a certain amount. So council then can appropriate those revenues within the current fiscal year.
Okay, and the 500,000 that we set aside for the Beaumont Ave interchange 10, the study and analysis that we set that aside for, I remember that. Are all these other items that we've already?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So they're already in our CIP then?
In the CIP, or they went to operating.
Okay.
We listed those just so that council is reminded as to what you've authorized staff to program or spend in this fiscal year.
Okay, so that leaves the remaining balance of 3.3. That's not understood now. Okay, thank
Right.
you.
You're welcome.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is great. I can barely remember what I ate for breakfast, much less what we approved in the last meeting, so I appreciate that. So just so I'm clear, when you talk about that the revenues are estimated, that means that is money that we have not yet, some of it is money we have not yet received from the County of Riverside for property taxes, correct?
That'd be correct, or other sources that we have revenues.
Other sources, but it's just that we have not received those monies yet.
We'll
and so
receive
you're
them throughout the
estimating
year, correct.
So
That is
there may be
correct.
some fluctuation, either up or down, potentially by the end of the fiscal year.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that cheat sheet.
Okay, are we on to Mr. Vestal now?
Yep.
All right.
So in addition to the finance director's cheat sheet, you will notice that the presentation of the CIP is slightly different. Same information, but just packaged a little bit different. Of note is the change log, which is for this council meeting, the most significant document in this, this item, which represents all of the changes in total that are occurring, just as a summary sheet. So you can glance at this change log and know exactly what is changing. So this is the third amendment for the fiscal year 24 through 28 CIP plan program. Just for reference, the original CIP was adopted June 6, 2023. The First Amendment was July 18th, 2023, and the Second Amendment was October 17th, 2023. This amendment is grouped into three categories. One, proposed new projects. Two, proposed budget changes. And three, completed projects. I'll spend a little bit more time on the new projects and then quickly go through the proposed budget changes and then the closed projects. At any time, you guys can interject, council can interject, and then obviously staff is available for questions and comments at the end. All right, so the first category is new projects. Staff is proposing 3 new projects: F04 Fire Squad, F05 Fire Station Equipment, and 06, sorry. Replace all the O's with zeros. 06 City Hall Office Furniture. Taking a look at F04, the Fire Squad. So staff is recommending replacing the outdated equipment using general funds and establishing a budget of $400,000. It is anticipated that an item will be brought at a future item will be brought to procure that equipment. Moving to F05, the fire station number 106 equipment. Construction of that facility is nearing an end. It's anticipated to be completed in mid-February. As construction is closing out, it's apparent that the facility needs to be outfitted with kitchen utensils, bedding, and all the other equipment that a fire station would need. So the intent here is to establish a budget to procure those items. It is using fire diff and establishing a budget of $300,000. And then lastly, as part of this group, is F06 City Hall Office Furniture. Similar to the fire station, construction is coming to a close for the City Hall renovation. And staff would like to purchase furniture to outfit those offices and other accessories. Funding for that is from Basic Service Diff, and staff is proposing to establish a budget of $115,000. All right, if there's any questions on those new projects?
Any questions to this point? Mr. White, did you have one down there?
Nope.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the second category, which is amending or proposed budget changes. In this third amendment, there are 4 projects that are requesting budget changes. The first one is Prochero Interchange Phase 2, City Hall Gym renovation, the purchase of a 12-yard dump truck, and Mesa Lift Station. So briefly on Prochero Interchange, staff is requesting $5 million in addition to the $1 million already allocated this fiscal year. The additional revenue would be, or additional budget would be used for construction. There currently is a deficit of approximately $24 million on the construction phase of Prochero. That goes in conjunction with our last Prochero Interchange award to Mark Thomas, where we discussed leaving those additional ramps, which increased the deficit, or the funding gap, from 13 million to approximately 24 million.
So then just a simple question, then if we allocate the 5 million to that, then our estimated shortage would be 19 million, correct?
Correct.
All right.
All right.
Mayor, I have a question on that
Sure.
item before we move on.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Can you break down the 49 million that we've already budgeted for that? Some of that is state money, some of that is other money, and some we have set aside already? Or if you have just I don't need an exact number,
absolutely.
just an idea, the breakdown. If it's easier to come back with it, that's fine too. You know, if you don't.
No.
Okay.
I brought my laptop just
Okay.
in case. I mean, I have this memorized.
Okay.
So 49 million in total is our current budget. We have approximately 1 million in general funds that was allocated by council this year. We have $6,500,000 from the past zone tip, and that's divided into design and construction. The city was awarded $33.5 million in TSEP, but in that 33.5, 7.5 million was from the state and 26 million was federal.
Okay.
And lastly, there's 8 million from RCTC TUMF, regional arterial funding.
Okay, and thank you. One last comment. I met with the executive director of RCTC last week, and rather than ask you when is the interchange going to be completed, I got a more realistic number, a date, than what we've been told in the past. And the way I will interpret what I was told was that if we were to spend the money that we have to spend before the deadline, and we did it at the last minute, that we're looking at a completion of the project probably in 2028. So I know that we have all been thinking it's 2 years, 3 years out, and I just wanted to sort of let council know rather than wait for my council comments, since this item is here, to let you know that it looks like it would be completed in 2028. If it's any later than that, then we didn't spend the money on time. So then it doesn't get completed. So I think that's a pretty solid number at this point. So.
All right, thank you. And I'll add to that with a question. If there, and I know we discussed with the remaining design review for the last 5% and then the critical timing on that, so we don't lose that opportunity for that grant. Obviously, we see a right now a $24 million deficit, and it looks like the city has a plan that if we do not have any other outside funds coming in, is to reconfirm that we have a potential plan that we can, as a city, potentially fund the remaining balance of that, so we don't lose out on that. We are able to continue and finish that bridge without losing the big pot of money that's helping to make it all happen, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
City manager has an update later this evening that it goes into that, and I certainly don't want to steal any of her thunder.
And I can just tell you what the plan is. So we're recommending programming $5 million tonight. When we present the budget for 24-25, we're going to recommend programming more money and then more money in 25-26. But that's not to say that we're not actively pursuing other revenue sources.
Understood.
We have to assume that we are going to stand alone on this, and we cannot jeopardize that $33.5 million grant.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll continue to sharpen the pencil with our CTC, but with them as the lead agency and their oversight and their review of all of the documents. I know every time we come to you, the number keeps increasing, but as they dive into this project more, they're really the authority on the project.
All right. Okay, thank you. That answers my question. Mr. White and then Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, I'm sorry. If he's ready, I can go.
Okay.
He can go first.
I just wanted clarification. So the last time that we met in regards to the design of the Potrero interchange, it looked like we were going to be, if we went with what was originally proposed, it was like a $7 million difference, right? So we were 13 short, or 13 and a half. The difference was 7. And I was looking in my head when we left that meeting that we'd be $20 million short. Now you're saying it's 24. Is that inflation? Is that, where did the extra 4 come from, or did I just misunderstand the?
Sure. You certainly didn't misunderstand. I just misspoke.
Oh.
If that's ever the case.
So it's 20 or 24?
No, it's 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the more we look at this and the more we meet with our CTC and the more we meet with Caltrans, we're refining that cost estimate. Part of what we've discovered in meeting with our CTC is we need to acquire more right-of-way. That was not something that when we were in control of the project that we were even looking at. And so one of the reasons we went to our CTC and said, please take the lead on this.
Right.
They have the team, they have the expertise. Not to say that Robert doesn't, but he's, really a one-man. So we're meeting with them frequently. In fact, we had a meeting with them in Caltrans today. And as this evolves and we start to uncover more and more, the 24 million is a conservative estimate.
Okay,
It was 20 million.
okay.
Inflation, uncovering different things. We're hoping we're gonna stop at 24 million.
Either that or we need to stop meeting, that way it doesn't climb it. So, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
I'd like to just add to that.
Sure.
I was just being silly when I said it was wrong. The $7 million was back in 2019, and then during our discussion, we kind of prorated it all the way up to today's dollar. So 7 million was when it was originally discussed to be omitted from the plans. However, during construction cost increase,
Right.
it is now hovering around $10 million. And these are just estimates, not actual construction costs.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that clarification. I'm good, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. White.
In the immortal words of a former council member, you took my question. But just to verify again, what I learned was, and I don't know that it may have been gotten back to us all, but the idea of keeping those on and off ramps, that's in this budget, right?
That is correct.
That's the project that we all had a consensus that we wanted to move forward. So, and RCTC assured me that that's the approach that we're going to take.
And that goes along with Mr. Laura's previous comments of not a level C or D when we finish the project in terms of traffic flow. We want a better solution at the end of it.
Yes, and part of my update at the end of the meeting is to update you on my conversation with the executive director in our meetings.
It'll be a short update at this point. Okay, Robert, anything else?
Yeah, there's a few other projects. I can continue with those, or if you guys are satisfied with the staff report, we can conclude.
Any questions from Council, Mr. Martinez?
Yeah, I just had a question. Remind me again what fund the ISF is?
Internal Service Fund.
Okay, and it's the only, is that a part of the general fund, sub-fund?
It's money that's put in every year for internal services.
Okay, and it's the only fund I didn't see a running record on. So is that intentional or?
We didn't include all of the funds on the cheat sheet because it would take up more than one page.
Well, only the ones that you're asking to adjust. So if
Okay.
you're asking to adjust ISF, then it would have been nice to at least know what was in there that you're increasing 126 for.
Do you know
So.
off the top of your head how much is in there?
Off the top of my head, but the treasure reports that are in the.
Oh, they're at the
We'll
end.
have it, okay, and that's fine.
And we'll add that, because that's a fair point. We'll add the ISF
Okay.
to the next cheat sheet.
Right, and in anything there that you're adjusting, I don't need to see the funds that aren't.
Do you want to see the
requested of it.
diffs?
No.
No,
No,
okay.
I'm okay with diffs. It's just that one I was okay. The diffs I'm okay on, GF we know of course. So it was just that one. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're all good that we're satisfied with the staff report? Okay, so then I will open the public hearing at 7:02, and do we have any public comments?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, so we will close the public hearing at 7:02. And any other council discussion or questions?
If there are no other comments, Mayor, I'd be happy to make a motion
Okay,
to waive the full reading and adopt by title only a resolution of the City Council of the City of Beaumont amending the 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 23-24 and 27-28.
I'll second.
thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes.
Didn't mean to cut you short, Robert. I know how much fun you're having.
I just want to thank staff for putting this item together. This is a lot of work, and it is, a lot of detail and a lot of staff members involved in it. So I appreciate that.
All right, thank you, everyone. So moving on to item I3, public hearing and first reading of an ordinance for the periodic review and recommended changes to the Beaumont Municipal Code, Chapter 13.21, Mobile Home Park Rent Stabilization. And with that, we will have a staff report from Christina Taylor.
Mayor, I know this is a little bit out of order. I've been holding it back, but I wanted to address, I think the lady's name was Barbara. Yes, that we, over the years, have had some suggestions on how we can reduce the amount of mail theft. So if you could reach out to staff, some of the ideas that we've worked with the post office and also with the police department, there are ways that you can educate, and we can help you educate your citizens on how to minimize the amount of theft. And I'm sorry. I was afraid you were going to leave any minute, so I just wanted to make sure that was there. So.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Does Nicole have your contact information?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Would you like my email address?
If you add it, that would be great. We'll, yeah.
Nicole, make sure you,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, add it on the form with, yeah.
make sure you share the vacancies on some of our committees as well, Nicole.
What's that?
We have openings on committees.
All right, so we'll turn the time back over to Christina Taylor.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mayor.
Interruption.
Sure.
Before you this evening is an item that is returning from the November 7th, 2023 council meeting, where the city council met regarding some proposed amendments to the mobile home park rent stabilization ordinance, which has been in effect since about 1996. Prior to this meeting, the city attorney's office and staff reviewed the current mobile home ordinance provisions, and the city attorney's office has made some recommendations to that ordinance. At that meeting, council requested staff to come back with some additional amendments, and listed in the staff report, and I'll run through them briefly, are those responses and what the ordinance, what the changes would do with the ordinance. So the first thing we're doing is removing or amending anything that's outdated or unnecessary. We're providing that administration of the ordinance would be at the direction of the city manager. Right now, it's under a planning director, which is a position that doesn't exist anymore within the city. It removes, these changes as proposed would remove some outdated statutory exemptions. And at council's direction and outlined in more detail further in the staff report is an opportunity for an exemption for vacancies. And we've added some definitions and updated the CPI index. We've removed some duplicative information from within the ordinance. The current ordinance, or we've provided for updating the annual adjustments and petition requirements, which are consistent with the ordinance provisions. And this speaks to the adjustment in the maximum rent ceiling that was discussed at the last meeting. So equal to 100% of CPI is what was originally proposed, and now the proposed amendment recommends an increased cap at 7% a year with a floor of 3%, and that was to address some of the Mobile Home Owner Association representative concerns. Number 7 in the staff report provides that petitions for adjustments be heard by the city's administrative appeals board, and that is consistent and typical with other appeals processes within the city. We are removing some provisions permitting petitions by tenants and landlords to seek determinations. These provisions have not been used in my time here, which is about 6 years now, and prior to that, we did not find any record of these petitions being used. These changes also remove provisions related to an appeals arbitrator. And again, we're referring everything to go through the Administrative Appeals Board, as is pretty common with many other appeal processes here in the city. The updates, or in the ordinance, we provide some updates to enforcement provisions. We're removing the requirement for periodic review and would then just be updated as state law required, or at council's direction, of course, as always. We are removing some other provisions and then adding some language relating to the capital improvement section. So for a more in-depth discussion, there's one thing that we wanted to include. And so we, at the last meeting, had a request to add an exemption at the local level for long-term leases. Previously, state law expressly exempted long-term leases from local rent control ordinances if there were certain requirements that were met. The state exemption is now being phased out over some concerns that landlords were unfairly utilizing the exemption provision. However, if council requests an exemption for long-term agreements be added at the local level, it can be added. And so thanks to Caitlin Empey at SBEMP, who has worked incredibly hard on putting this together, and working with Mrs. Polly from the Mobile Home Owners Association group, and guiding staff as well through this process. In your staff report, I believe it's page 3 on my paper copy. There is a section C that goes through the long-term rental agreement language, which could be included in the ordinance. So there is an alternative in there, which council could elect to exempt only long-term leases that are already in effect. But this really becomes a policy decision for council to discuss after maybe hearing public comment, if there's any, and further discussion with staff or with the city attorney's office, who is available. So at this time, staff is recommending that council hold a public hearing, and we are recommending adoption of this ordinance with all the language, waiving the first full reading, et cetera. We'll formalize that after the discussion, and we see how this goes. At council's direction, we can include the language proposed in the staff report. It can be dropped into the ordinance for reading again at the next meeting, or however council chooses to proceed. So back to you, Mayor. Yes, Caitlin Empey is on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. And we will open our public hearing at 7:10 PM. And do we have any public comments?
Yes, sir. I have an in-person comment by Julie Polly.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Julie Polly with the WMA, and was here in November. The concerns that I expressed in November have been addressed with Christina and Caitlin. So I want to thank both of them for hearing us out and addressing them. So I think the one policy matter before this body is whether or not long-term leases should continue to be exempted. Caitlin has concern or reiterated concerns from the bill's author that long-term leases are exploited or inappropriately entered into. Those were some of the allegations during the legislative process. We disagree. I think what's important is what's going on here in Beaumont. Country Highlands, most of those spaces are governed by a long-term lease. So if you don't exempt long-term leases locally, what you're saying is that the city should get in between two private parties' agreements. We disagree. I don't think there's any evidence that this park owner in particular was inappropriate with leases. Leases are widely used in our industry. They're peace brokers. They give certainty to residents on what their increases are going to be. They're legally binding, so a resident could take a park owner to court if they feel the lease is being violated. So we like them, and they provide assurances to the residents, which really is paramount in this discussion at City Council. So we hope that you would continue the exemption here locally. Worst case scenario, someone comes to the city and says, this is terrible, I was duped, and you need to intervene. You can just remove your local exemption and allow the city ordinance to prevail, or the rent control. What I want to end with, what I think is most important with the long-term leases and the exemptions is that it limits your exposure. They're removed from the ordinance. A park owner can't sue the city of Beaumont or apply for a fair rate of return, or the litigation that follows those applications. They're removed from that process. So the fewer spaces you have under your ordinance, the risk is limited to the city. And it's really a win-win because those are tenants that still have protections that they voluntarily agreed to enter into with the landlord. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Polly. We may call on you for some questions, so thank you. Do we have any other public comments?
Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no other callers on the line.
Okay, thank you. So then we will close our public hearing at 7:14 PM. And we'll hand it over to council for comments or questions. And I'll start off with one. Just for the public's information, a definition of a long-term lease, is that 12 months or more?
Yes, that is correct. Any rental agreement in excess of 12 months of duration, which also meets the criteria, which is specified in the staff report under that first subsection C where the definition of starts.
Okay, and then just one added plus that I like about long-term leases as a real estate agent is the comfort level and the planning capabilities of the tenant or so that in both parties, for example, that's something they can budget on and so forth, and not be subject to wide swings in market rates with rents and so forth on the shorter term. So that's always a plus. But I will hand this over to council for any questions. Mr. White.
If there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion. Waive the first full reading and approve by title only an ordinance of the City Council, City of Beaumont, California, amending Chapter 113.21 Mobile Home Park Rent Stabilization of Beaumont Municipal Code, along with the long-term rental agreement without change.
If I can just get clarification on that, there are two proposals in the staff report. There's a just general long-term lease exemption, and then there's an alternative long-term leases currently in effect. Am I assuming you're going with the first alternative? That's
Yes.
the proposal?
Oh,
Okay.
Yes.
I believe so.
That
That's the
was
one we
the plan,
discussed,
yes.
Caitlin.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Just making sure.
Okay, and then just so I fully understand it too, then that means with the exemption of the long-term lease, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
So
We'll add that.
it's where it starts C, long-term rental agreement, and it goes 1 through 9. We did have the alternative, the section on the bottom where it says alternatively, it would not be that section. It would be the first one, which is what we discussed.
Okay. So,
Is there a second?
no, and you have
I'll
your light
second.
on? Okay, all right. Okay, so we have a first and a second. Can we get roll call, please?
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. All right, thank you, everyone. And then we will move on to for our regular action items. Item J1, the Downtown Business Incentive Program marketing options. And we'll have a staff report by Mr. Kyle Warsinski.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight are different marketing options for downtown business incentive programs. So back in December of 2022, Council approved the establishment of those incentive programs, and the whole package is detailed and listed in the staff report in terms of which specifics comprise that program. Currently, Council has allocated $1 million in their budget for the program. To date, Council has approved 4 funding agreements totaling $67,000, $67,703 to be exact, leaving the program balance at over $900,000. Staff has been discussing different marketing options at the Economic Development Committee, once in October and then again in December. And in December, Economic Development Committee received a presentation from staff, had thorough discussion, and recommended to City Council to utilize some of that program funding to help market the various programs to residents, business owners, people driving by on the 10 freeway and so forth. So some of those different marketing options were billboards and digital signs along Interstate 10 and State Route 60. We really looked at kind of a sub-region in which we thought stakeholders that might be looking at putting a business in Beaumont or might own land here that they weren't aware of the facade program would really see and hopefully reach out to us for more information and so forth. So we looked all the way into San Bernardino. We looked obviously through Interstate 10 corridor through Yucaipa, went as far out to Cabazon and so forth, and then we ratcheted back and we dialed back. So then what we did was we reached out to all the billboard companies within that subregion and asked which ones are available. Because like Lamar, if you go on their website, there's a slew of different billboards, but not all of them are available at any given time. Some have 2-year leases already, and are just not available for advertising. So we distilled down which ones are actually available, that if city council wanted to pull the trigger and use billboards for marketing, we could actually call them, and hopefully they haven't rented them out in the last month or two, but either way, we'll get through that. So attachment A is the list of all of those available billboards from various advertising firms. There's really 4 within this region. You have Lamar, you have General. AMG is the one that owns the big Welcome to Beaumont sign on Highland Springs. They're also the same company that has recently constructed the one in Banning. And then lastly, you have another company, a little bit smaller, called Lennard, and they own some of these Yucaipa digital signs that you'll see. So General and Lennard own all the city of Yucaipa ones that you'll see along Interstate 10. So attachment A has all of the available ones. Staff went ahead and started reviewing those extensively in terms of their locations. And we came up with 4 different options that we really feel are probably the best options for our region for the dollar amounts prescribed. And those are detailed in your staff report. The first one is a bulletin sign. That's the one that's up permanently that you actually fixate the advertisement to. That's on County Line Road. It's west facing, which means eastbound traffic is the ones that see it. So coming into our area is the sign direction. That one's priced at $5,500 for 4 weeks. The second one is the very large and bright digital billboard at the Marina Valley Mall. And you can't miss that thing if you're driving by it, no matter what time of day. We're looking for the west-facing, also eastbound traffic, so coming out of Riverside, coming north on 215, and then turning right, which then heads towards Marina Valley through Beaumont. That one is a digital ad, and that's priced at $4,500 per 4 weeks. The general digital display, you'll see it on Yucaipa Boulevard, on Interstate 10, near Yucaipa Boulevard. Once again, west facing, so eastbound traffic coming through Yucaipa, headed towards Calamasa and Beaumont will see this one. That one's pretty reasonably priced at $3,500. And then lastly, the AMG sign over in Banning. This one is east facing, so that's westbound traffic. So people coming out of the desert, out of Morongo and out of Banning, coming towards us. And that he offered us a discounted price at $2,000 for 4 weeks there. So attachment B has kind of a range of the different marketing options. It has total impressions, which are how many people actually see the thing or could see the thing when they're driving by. It's really hard for me to get a great understanding of how the billboard companies come up with those impressions, so I'm not sold on how solid those numbers are. I think if I had to pin it, it's more around 800,000 per 4 week period of potential impressions of travelers on Interstate 10. We know over 130,000 cars drive on that freeway every single day. So it's how many times that ad will be up. And then we also looked into Beaumont Cinema, so 2nd Street Cinema. They have different digital advertising spots before movies. Can provide still images, video, or combination of both. They have 15-second or 30-second ad spots. We did some analysis using our Placer AI data. That movie theater receives around 300,000 visitors per year, average of 24,000 in a month. And what we found using the Placer data, if we were going to utilize the movie theater marketing, our recommendation would be going through June and July, as those are very high peak months on visitors, and you'll see other months where it's very low. So it's the same dollar amount, but we actually know we're getting more bang for our buck if we advertise during the summer. So if we're looking for maybe a 6-month period, I would recommend March to August to take advantage of the higher peak months for the same dollar amount. So that concludes my staff report. You have the packages of the available billboards. Once again, on December 13th, the Economic Development Committee did recommend that the City Council consider using a portion of the incentive program money to actually market the incentive program. And the recommended action is hold a discussion and direct staff on the use of that program funds for advertising an amount not to exceed $30,000. I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Warsinski. Do we have any public comments?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, questions for council? Mr. White?
Yeah, your recommendation, I believe, is at about 30,000 for the first attempt. Are you looking, do you have in your mind, is that just going to be doing everything for 8 weeks? I mean, that's about, I think the total number comes out to about just over 15,000, or yeah, 15,000 if you did everyone for 4 weeks.
I was thinking maybe picking 2 and then using those 2 billboards for a period of 4 or 5 months. If we do 4, we can also pay for a trial with the movie theater advertising. If we do 5 months on the 2 billboards, then that basically utilizes the full 30,000.
We're open to suggestions from council. The idea is to run it, long enough that we can collect some data and just see if we get calls that come in or visits to the counter, or depending on what the ad looks like. If the QR code is up there, I'm not sure how effective that would be, but we've come up with a lot of marketing stuff, right? So
yeah, we don't need a lawsuit for a QR code that someone rear-ended.
Right. Yeah. But the idea is to at least pick 2, 3, 4, whatever we decide to do, and run them long enough to track the data to see if we do get some traction and an uptick in interest in the incentive program.
And are there volume discounts for going 3 months versus 1 month, or 6 months versus 3 months? Or?
The movie theater, yes. The billboards, no.
Okay, so the movie theater was $2,500, I believe, for 4 weeks. And so what do you think that would be for your suggestion of 6 months?
So the 6-month movie theater price, I think a 15-second ad spot is sufficient. I don't think we need 30 seconds. So 6 months is roughly $3,000.
Okay. No, I like what you're talking about. I do think we don't need to be on every single one of those 4 billboards. If you pick, the 2 that you think are the best moving forward. But I do think we need a little bit of time to judge whether or not people are responding.
Does council have a preference on whether we go further west towards Yucaipa, or whether we go east to Banning? The Banning billboard did offer us a pretty good price, and that'd be for people going east, I believe, would see that.
That one is, where are my notes? East facing, so westbound.
West, okay.
Because they're coming from Banning into Beaumont on that one.
Mayor, I personally like the idea of Banning going west and Yucaipa going east.
Okay, and you good there for the moment? Okay.
What's that? Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, and Mayor Pro Tem?
Kyle, on the option 3, the Calamasa Boulevard, or the Calamasa sign, doesn't that also show east as well?
Yes, option 3 is that Yucaipa billboard. It is digital. There is a east-facing side of it.
Yeah.
In our thought process, and we could be wrong on this one, is we were trying to get people that were driving through Beaumont, but we could easily advertise people that have gone through Beaumont and are still headed through Yucaipa on the east-facing one as well.
That's kind of what I was thinking. So my thoughts were that we would use I like option 2, obviously, because that thing is huge and it covers the 60. I thought the City of Yucaipa one, if we hit the east, we could cover eastbound, and then the one in Banning. Those are my thoughts. I wasn't really sure if we would get the type of clientele that we would need, business owners going to the 2nd Street Cinema, but I wasn't sure how council felt about that. So I'd rather invest in the billboards where you have a larger exposure.
Go ahead, Mr. White.
Yeah, what I like about the one in the cinema is that you may reach local existing business owners at this point, but also it shows our community that may not catch them all on the billboards that we are making an effort to really do something special.
Yeah, I'll jump in. You finished, Mr. Lawrence?
Just
Okay.
one last comment. Is there any other way to get around the prevailing wage? Because when you look at the money that has been spent so far, it's $50,000. So over $900,000, and so it's not moving. I didn't know if there was a way to get around. I don't mean get around it, but is there another option so that we don't have to do the prevailing wage, because it eats up a lot of the.
That's a question for legal. Yeah.
You're right. That's a difficult question, so we would have to research that and get back to the city.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Mayor, real quick on that. If you are going to research that, let's look what the non-prevailing wage is to see if there's a huge difference, because I don't know that there is these days, but that may be not as important a point if it's real close.
Mayor, can I just add something? I was at the theater Sunday night with my grandsons, and I think I agree with Councilmember White. I think it is an opportunity to reach local business owners, and I think we need to look at this from the perspective of a video, and maybe that is something that council would like to record. Our supervisor has a 30-second video where he speaks personally to the audience to send his message, and I think we should follow that lead and do the same thing and talk to the businesses and say there's opportunity here and come talk to us.
Maybe a heartfelt message from our mayor.
Maybe.
Sounds like
that's a marketable face right there.
My mom said I had a face for radio, so I can't do that.
We love you, Mike. I'll jump in, and I like the idea of the movie theater because it shows our local citizens that we're doing all that we can to boost businesses. But I do have a comment or two about the billboards. So first off on that, it's my personal interpretation of where people come from when they're coming to Beaumont is off the 10 corridor. So to me, the Marina Valley big sign is probably a little less important in my mind because I think the majority of people are on the 10. And then with that, I like the digital billboards, but an example that we have is our Veterans Expo and Job Fair. Oh, there it is. It's gone. You know, it's so quick that I think this type of message would be missed on a digital billboard. And so I like the idea of the one on County Line that's I'll call it a static one or whatever, the old-fashioned type, that if they see that and go, oh, I like that, they'll find the next exit, turn around, you know, if they're serious enough, take a picture of it, and then now they have the information. If it's a digital billboard, they're waiting for it to re-scroll through, and how often is that? And so if we did 2 billboards, one traditional one on the county line is what I think would be a good idea, and then we pick one of the new ones in the Yucaipa area so that we can get both. I certainly would love to see the movie theater, run it from March to August. I think that's a good idea. I've seen some of those ads. They're kind of neat, and even some local businesses have advertised on those, and you're like, hey, you know. So I like that idea too. And then one other thought, and I'm not sure if this is happened, or if it's done, maybe we can do it again, is some postage money to send letters out again to each of the business owners and landowners in the downtown to re-advertise to them. And if we've done it already, you know, you got to sometimes hit somebody multiple times before they pay attention. Oh, yeah, this looks familiar again, you know, and so forth. That maybe there's and that's probably not near the cost of this, but that might be more effective in terms of attention. Now, they may just go like this, but they've looked at it, and so forth before they throw it in the can. And so my recommendation, movie theater, 2 billboards, one of them being the one at County Line, and wanted to get council's thought on it. I see Mr. Martinez's light on. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I do like the eastbound on the Ukaipa and the westbound banning idea. I think it's worth a try, but I also like your static idea as well. Tell me about the 30,000. So the 30,000 you're asking is for this one time, well, maybe not one time, but this first time approach, using maybe a variety of what's suggested. And then we're going to reevaluate and see what comes in after. And then at that point, then we'll discuss whether you want to try something different, try it again, keep it going, or so forth. Is that kind of the plan?
You hit it right on the head. It's
Okay.
basically a pilot program to see if this marketing concept is going to work.
Okay, well, I agree. Is a part of the decision or part of the thinking process any sort of digital media or any type of, like old school press enterprise type thing, 1-page color ad run a couple of weeks? Or is that something that there's just so much going on, you decided to start here and see what this does first?
We have considered the print media. Digital media would be kind of the ad that we're going to do for the movie theater and so forth. And we can obviously utilize that in different spaces. If you guys create a nice video, we'll obviously use that other places than just the movie theater. But print media is so expensive these days. I bet you to run a half-page ad in the press enterprise for 2 or 3 weeks is going to be more money than this billboard is a month.
Do they have a different price for just their digital format? Because they have digital paper now.
They do.
Or digital format, so.
They
would
do,
that-
but I haven't been sold when they've provided their media kit on how many people are seeing it. Like, they'll show you, but I'm not sold on the number of impressions and whether that's solid or not.
I believe our PIO has some information or has previously checked into that as well. On
Sorry, the
Julie, you're on the spot.
Good evening. Yes, there is different pricing for digital and print, and sometimes there's a combo if you do both, just generally speaking.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. I think the full page ad for the record was around 1,000.
we know the
Is that
impressions
for
on that.
one, huh?
You don't know.
Be careful, we have the
Well, I was gonna say,
editor
if
from the
only
record.
there was a
Gazette
rep here.
We do. I'll have to circle back on the newspaper publication.
And as far as any other digital formats, I'm old school stuff, thing that we do, I don't know, what do they call it now?
We've done like the
on your
social media
yeah, that kind
pushes
of
and
stuff.
stuff like that.
Or something
yeah.
like AdWorks and
Yeah,
that sort of
anything, yeah,
stuff?
those are the.
Is that something that we've looked into?
I've not looked at AdWorks.
Okay.
All right, these are just ideas, but what you have going here, I support. I like the idea, I think it's worth trying, and I think that amount's reasonable to get us out there, so.
The Veterans Expo was on the one.
Yeah, and it looks very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I saw it twice.
Yeah.
Mr. White?
You just said it, you saw it twice, so you remember seeing it twice.
I do, but there
Yeah.
were no details, and I was privy to it because I'm involved in it, but I only saw that it said Veterans Expo, and it was gone again, both times.
But for someone who drives to Redlands and back on a very regular basis, this morning took me 40 minutes to get from my home to my work. And you're sitting there, and you are looking at the digital because you're looking for new ads. So when you're driving home, you're with a static one, you're like, oh, okay, I've seen that one. I really think putting the money into the digital makes a lot more sense. And also, I think, as opposed to doing the print ads, is that I think the benefit of putting them on digital on the freeway, you have people who are taking so long to get to and from that they're like, well, why am I driving through Beaumont when I could just bring my business to Beaumont and cut my drive in half? So I think putting those on the digital billboards on the 10 really make a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I don't know if it was in there and I may have missed it, but how long are those ads up when it's a digital before they change it? Is it 8 seconds or so?
The digital one in Ukaipa is 8 seconds once per minute, and the AMG one is 7.5 seconds once per minute.
Okay. And my
Pretty
thought is
good.
keep it simple and say, hey, Beaumont, and so forth. And obviously you guys would design that out and all that. So I appreciate what you bring up, and I could support that too, so.
So can we, two different ways we could go about it. So you can either direct us to stay under that 30,000 threshold and maximize it with what we've heard here, or if you have specific billboards that you want us to reach out to along with running the 30-second ad at the newspaper, then we can,
You mean the movie theater?
or the movie theater, sorry, we can, we might be within a few dollars either way on that 30,000, but I just want to make sure we're clear, so we're covered all the way around.
Yeah, I'm okay with the 30,000 being a guide.
Okay,
And I do think that we need an eastbound and a westbound digital.
okay,
Um,
all right. So
That's
we'll-
my opinion.
Banning Ukaipa,
And
the
that was
movie
yours,
theater.
Mr. Martinez?
Okay.
Okay, I can support that. Mr. Laura?
I could support that as well, as long as we get you on video in the cinema.
I
the
love
movie theater
I
guy.
love the idea of putting these ads in our neighbors' cities a lot. I think that
Yeah.
that sends a message to businesses that are close by that, yeah. So.
There's
All right.
consensus on not using the Moreno Valley one, is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct, okay. So you guys, clear direction?
I believe so, thank you.
All right, we'll see how the video goes. All right, thank you. There you go. Oh. Yeah. All right, so on to item J2, update on the wastewater treatment plant site improvements. And we have a staff report by Mr. Thaxton Van Bell.
Good evening. As Mayor stated, tonight's an update on the improvement project for the treatment plants. Listening in tonight is Kenyon Potter, our departmental engineer, and on Zoom with us tonight is Jeff Hutchins. Jeff's a registered landscape architect. Some of his projects have included school districts, SoFi Stadium, and I don't know if I should mention the baseball stadium in the presence of one council member, but their color's blue. So tonight we've got a visual, a PowerPoint to go through to kind of show the different steps and the improvement areas. So as I pull that up, okay. Is it on the screen? There we go. The first slide kind of shows you where we are now, and the treatment plant is completed, and the construction project included getting through a functional plant, but it did not include elements of ground cover and some needed accessories. So we're gonna go through those. So if you look, this is the state we're in right now. Native was left. I mean, actually this was taken, right after. So we've got quite a bit of weeds and stuff cropping up. But the next slide, we start at our entryway. So off of 4th Street, there's a design element here, trees, plantings. It's quite the step up from the previous slide that just shows, kind of the dirt and weeds between the concrete facility and the junkyard next door. Next, to kind of let everybody know where they are and what we're doing, we've got a monument design. everything here means something. Jeff put a lot of work into this. For example, the monument, represents sedimentary rock, ties into the water treatment, the water plant element. He's included slides with all the plantings. I am not an expert on the plantings. That's why Jeff's on. If anybody has, when we go to Home Depot, I just load the truck. This first few slides shows first improvement are bringing in the gates. The gate off of 4th Street is right on 4th Street, so anywhere from our delivery semi trucks, fire truck, anything that would ever pull in, if we were to have the gate closed, they're hanging out on 4th Street. 10 years ago, maybe that was okay, but as you all know, 4th Street's quite busy these days, so we want to definitely move the entry gate in, get it automated so it can open and close rather than leaving it open. The second item I'll point out is an actual parking lot, visitor and employee parking lot here. Currently, there is no parking lot on the facility, so if you've got a truck, you've got a couple more options to hop on a curb somewhere. If you're in the Camry, you've got to pick a side road here, and that's kind of the way it goes. Next up, access road. This access road will come through and provide a loop for the sludge trucks. Right now, they kind of turn around in this dirt area. That kicks up the dirt, which is one of the things we're trying to prevent in dust and erosion control with some of the plantings. And then it also will lead to our new dump station, which is on the next slide. Currently, the treatment plant does not have a professionally designed and installed Vector dump station. Right now, we dump it in front of the headwork. So the crew goes out with that Vector truck, they clean up the sewer lines, the lift stations. For those of you that have seen the Fatberg presentation, they pick up plastics, debris, things we want out of the sewer, and currently we come to the plant and we dump it right into the plant and make the plant equipment remove it. A dump station puts it into a dumpster that decants it and gets hauled off to the landfill. So that's an important improvement. Next up is a particularly important item, our UV disinfection facility. There's no landscaping around it, and in fact, the water runoff comes down that road and is directed into that facility. The UV channels are sub or below grade, so after we go through this treatment process, clean the water to this level, if we get a big storm, it's subject to flooding, and we've had mud inflows in there. And I really appreciate Kenyon calling out the concrete pad, because during Hillary, that's exactly where I was standing in ankle-deep water, working to get the electronics going again that control the UV system. So all of these items are included as the site improvements, and the next slides are going to kind of show a few different levels of landscaping. So slide 1 here, option 1 is kind of the fully flushed out, has the most plantings, incorporates a cobblestone path with trees. Most of the slope protection is done via plantings in all the regions here. The second option, the main difference is the reduction in the tree plantings. There are still some established here along the east boundary to act as, wind blockage. The planting aesthetic from the front, though, is still carried in the main entry road and the slope protection of these areas, but the lower site becomes gravelled. It's not as in view as the front and the entry sites would be. And then we have a third option. This is really the base option. Everything just turns to gravel with no definitive anything to keep the gravel intact. I mean, we could use multicolor, but over time they would blend. et cetera, but it does still get the bare minimum requirement of having something to control the dust and erosion. Staff is recommending the second level. We think it satisfies all the minimum requirements of dust and erosion control, but still keeps a pleasant aesthetic coming into the plant, and doesn't have quite the number of trees and things that require, future maintenance. And then one add alternate we are going to propose is a rear access road. The treatment plant actually owns the property between the plant and Veely. This is not an easement, this is city's property. We'd like to formally, right now it's just a dirt pathway, we'd like to formally develop this as a roadway. We do list it on our emergency plans with the county as a secondary access. Also, when you're under construction, or if there's ever some kind of major event that shuts down 4th Street, we would have, access to still have trucks and things come into the plant on 4th, off of Veely instead of 4th. And with that, that concludes the update of the site improvements. I'm happy to take any questions, and again, we do have staff and the consultant online.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
I have no written comments. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, thank you. And Thaxton, that access road, would that be just a gravel road, or would that be paved? Or like asphalt paved, or?
We're proposing gravel because of the ground and stormwater run through from north to south to there's a creek just south of it, and the cost. If we were to go to asphalt, we'd have to put other storm measures in it. We may trigger WQMP protocols, et cetera.
Okay,
Extra environmental.
All right, we'll go to Mr. Martinez first.
Yeah, Thaxton, is that road a part of the 2.25, or is that an additional? Or is that?
That is an additional add-on. Kenyon ran a preliminary estimate, and if it goes in as gravel, he thinks it'd be between 40 and 50,000. These are early design estimates, not bid package estimates.
Of course. All right, thank you. That's all I'm here for that.
Mr. White?
I assume the watering would be recycled water.
Thank you for bringing that up. I did have that in the staff report. We definitely see that as a branding opportunity and are taking the steps to utilize our own recycled water to water all the plants, and would have signage, et cetera.
And the funding would be coming out of the sewer wastewater fund, correct?
It all does, yes.
I've heard from a lot of people in your industry, quite a number actually, that are amazed at what that plant is doing and what you've accomplished. I'm not opposed to Plan 1 because I think it gives an it may bring a lot of recognition to what you've accomplished there. So I'm not opposed to number 1. And then my last question is, we have had, I think at least Mr. Lara is very familiar with the issue that we've had where the gravel road is going to go with the property owner right there. Is that going to solve some of the concerns that property owner has, or the business owner, I should say, not property owner?
Are we talking about M&M?
Is that where that is located?
No.
No. What street? It's on Veely though?
The gravel road would be the back entrance.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the access road to
No.
the dump. I'm sorry.
No, I'm talking about the gravel road. Isn't that right
Yes.
in that area?
Correct.
And that would be, because we've already taken some criticism from the business owner. Property owner seems very open to solving that. Business owner has had concerns that what we've done as far as building and upgrading the plant, that created some issues. I'm just concerned, hopeful that would solve all those issues, but also concerned that we create other environmental issues that is going to give them more, they're going to call me more, put it that way.
So the business owner, the last I spoke with the business owner, part of the issue that we're having is, and we've staked that to clearly delineate the city's property. Part of the issue that we're having is the business owner is using city property to stage vehicles. And I understand that there's some concern from the previous project, that the contractor may have done some damage to. So for those of you that don't know, the area that we're talking about, the city property bifurcated the property owner's property. And so we have direct access to the east entrance of the treatment plant off of Ely Avenue. Property owner owns a parcel to the south and to the north. It's really a unique situation. The property to the south is up against Cooper's Creek. And the issue that the business owner has is that is now, in his opinion, starting to cave, if you will, into Cooper's Creek. We did research it. We looked at it. We found no indication that the contractor had changed any of the grade. However, the contractor did, and Daxton, correct me if I'm wrong, put a berm up because, did the contractor do that, or did the business owner?
The business owner claimed there was a more substantial berm in place prior to the contractor staging just outside our gate in that area. We don't have any photo evidence or record of that being the case, though.
I just think the idea of putting in a rear gate access road there sort of sends a message that that is city property. But then again, we might get in the middle of the whole runoff issue from the business owner's actions. And now all of a sudden, the business owner can hold us more responsible for that. So I just know it's a tricky situation with the business owner, the property owner.
And I would recommend we buy the whole thing. I'm not sure why the city bought a strip of land and bifurcated the property owner's land.
Yeah.
And I can't.
Well, I talked to the property owner, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to make this controversy go away. So I just think that's a great opportunity at that point. I'm not arguing against this at all. I'm saying hopefully it's a way to solve that issue as well as the other things that you're talking about.
Completely understood. I think we feel that by putting the roadway in or somehow delineating, we had the property surveyed, so we're confident that the layout is accurate as far as the property goes. And also, what you don't see is our infrastructure is underneath there. We do have main sewer trunks coming in right under there. So why the city at the time actually purchased that versus, an easement or whatever, I think it was before all of our times. It was quite some time ago. But the fact is that we do own that property. It is ours. And we think by delineating and showing, all right, this is the city property, the rest is your property, I think that helps clear up some of the things. And the gravel element, I think, is key into some of your concerns where it does not interfere with any of the flow from north to south in that area.
And just one last note, I do think that if there is an opportunity for us to fix that by bringing those two pieces together, that would be a great solution. I think that would help eliminate a lot of the issues. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I had.
Thank you. I've got a question. So the San Diego Pass Water Agency has a drought-tolerant garden behind their building, and they put it in there to show to the public, hey, this is something you can do. And I got a couple ideas on it, nice tree from there and so forth. If we did option one, is that something that we can then kind of promote and so forth and encourage the public to come and take a look? And then if so, would you put a bench out there to have lunch for a break for either employees or a visitor and that sort of thing? If we went kind of all out to show off the facility, if we get, future engineers coming our way to check things out?
Assuming the wind's blowing the right way.
That was the number one comment when initially there was a picnic area there, but that didn't make the presentation cut because of the of what Councilman White just mentioned. But yeah, I mean, this is just a conceptual phase. We could even kind of blend 1 and 2 together. The particular element in 1 with all the trees east of the centrifuge building, the solids handling building is also keeping that open for future use. We've got a lot of ideas in mind, and one of them possibly being something like solar. So we would hate to put, really develop out a number of trees in an area that's open. But I can see something like that maybe in the front, like you said. It is very common to do the type
A little show-off garden.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is a very common element. Yep.
Okay.
The other thing that we need to keep in mind is the dollars that you're seeing on the screen, the 2.6 and the 2.225, those are all one-time costs. We need to talk about the long-term maintenance costs that the enterprise fund is going to have to pay for. Doug's crew will have to go in there, trim the trees. So any vegetation in there is going to have to be maintained year after year after year. And so we need to keep that in mind when we're looking at the dollars and not just focus on the difference between the option 1 and 2. And the reason that staff recommended option 2 is because of the long-term maintenance costs. The enterprise fund, the wastewater treatment fund would have to pay those costs.
All right, understood, thank you. Mr. Martinez, you
Yeah,
ready for a
well,
question?
that was my concern,
Okay.
because I was comparing the two, and you can see the significant vegetation difference in the two. I mean, one looks a lot better, and it would be, something you would want to showcase and so forth, but, we'd have to consider that cost. So, I'm not sure.
And Thaxton, your comment in reference then to a potential area for solar, where do you think that might go? I'm looking at
me pull the
page
slide back up for
229
everybody.
of the agenda.
If you look at the view screen, it would be in this open area as one potential.
All right, it's not,
We don't have
it's
it
not
up
showing
on
at the
the
moment.
Back up again.
Okay.
If we could go back to the PowerPoint.
All right, he's responding over there.
There we go.
There we go, okay.
It would be this area.
That area there, okay. And that's where you had a good chunk of the trees in,
In
Option
number 1,
2.
there's a
Yeah.
substantial amount of planting.
yeah,
trees
there's a
there.
lot there, okay. Because the thought then would be, then if there is a little show-off garden, then maybe it's in that other,
Maybe it's
that
up in
section
this
there.
area,
Yeah,
yeah.
so maybe that's a little
Maybe we
heavier
can shift a little, yeah.
density, of stuff, and then lighter there for something in the future.
Okay.
Just a thought. But I certainly like the idea of cleaning it up, and especially the curb line, to get that water flow away from the building.
Yeah.
Standing in the water working on electronics is
Yeah,
not
it
a
was
good
not.
idea.
At 2 in the morning, it was.
Any other
Not a pleasant
comments from council, or do you guys need more information from us as direction? You good to go?
I think I'm hearing you.
Okay.
I think we're good.
If we could.
Go
if I
ahead.
could-
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do want to make this a showcase. I also see that there's a long-term maintenance concern with it. If there's a hybrid that we can develop, obviously a reduction in the trees, have them more maybe strategically placed. I'm not sure if and then, obviously landscape in areas that would be viewable by the public. So maybe it's half landscape up front along the major routes, and then it's gravel or hardscape behind those areas. So just thoughts, but yeah, I do want to showcase, because this is it's a destination point for educating our students, so. Thank you. That's all
Thank
I have,
you.
Mayor.
Okay, so then we will be on to item J3, Parks and Community Services Master Plan, quarterly update of capital improvement project P17, and staff report by Mr. Doug Story.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to bring this report to you to just kind of bring to your attention what's been going on in our process. If you remember, early last year, we started the process in trying to find a landscape architect and design group to come alongside us and develop our very first Parks and Community Services Master Plan. So this has been an exciting process that we've been underway, and I wanted to take just a few brief moments to share with you some of the accomplishments and some of the things that we've finished. This process is not done. When we awarded this contract, we did share it was a pretty lengthy process because we're starting from scratch. We're starting from zero. And so as that process goes on, we want to bring in these periodic updates for you just so you know some of the accomplishments and things that have happened, what to expect in the days ahead, and just to let you know how close we're getting to bringing this to you with a final document. Some of the great things that you'll remember at the end of last year was our big emphasis was community involvement and community outreach. And so we held some community open forums where we invited members of the community to come out. Our design team and our consultants put together a great presentation where it was interactive. We had each individual that showed up to our community meetings, they were able to download an app and they were able to take instantaneous surveys, and you could see on the screen exactly what people were thinking and saying as they asked them specific questions. So we did those back at the end of October. We also had a time where the team came out and they were able to interview key staff members, have some meetings with council members, have some meetings with some key stakeholders in the community, meet with some of our sports league teams and different individuals. So this offered an opportunity for them to gather information about what our park needs are, what are some of the key uses, what are some of the issues, what are some frustrations, what are some needs that we have. So that was all accomplished in the very beginning. From all that information, we were able to conduct and complete the community profile report. We were also able to begin what's going to be happening immediately. Later this month, we're going to be releasing what's called our statistically valid survey. And this is a specific type of survey that is sent to Beaumont residents, and we're able to track the results that come in so that the individuals that are filling out this survey is a direct representation demographically, ethnicity, socioeconomic level of what our actual city is. And so it's a great opportunity for us to really get a glimpse of what does our community need, what are they saying, and this information that we're receiving and putting into this final report is going to be a true representation of our community, not just a specific interest group who has really overzealous members and who just want to go online and click a bunch of surveys and fill out specific information, and then we have a kind of a skewed result. And so this is a great way. So we're going to be releasing that opportunity for our community in the weeks ahead. At the same time, we will be also opening up a community-wide survey so that individuals can take that, and that is a specific QR code and a specific link that can be sent to anybody in our community. Anyone can fill it out, and those two results will be compared. And so if in one we show that there's a need to add 72 soccer fields, we'll know maybe that was kind of heavy in the certain type of people who filled out the report versus the other one. So it kind of helps lend a balance to the information that's going to be coming in. So those are some of the exciting things to happen in the days ahead. You can visit our bmtparks.com website, which was developed for us, which is specific about this particular process. So another one of the great accomplishments that we've had thus far. And then they were able to come out and perform an assessment on every single one of our parks, all of our facilities. The idea in this part of the process is to really see and understand what we have, compare us eventually. We'll be comparing us to surrounding communities, what they have, what are some things that we might be deficient in, and what are things that as we grow and project for the years ahead through 2040, what do we need to be adding in our community? So those are just a few of the things that should be coming out and coming up for us in just some of the weeks and months ahead as we wrap this process up. I attached the schedule so you guys see what the complete journey is for us in this process as one of the attachments. But if you have any questions about the Park Master Plan process, I'd be happy to answer those questions now.
All right, thank you. Any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, questions for council?
Mayor, I'll move to receive and file.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. And roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes. Thank you. And we are on to item J4, approve a professional services agreement with Community Works Design Group, CWDG, for the concept plans and construction documents for Nicholas Park and Palmer Park Dog Park in an amount not to exceed $358,555. And Mr. Doug Story again.
Yes, very excited to start this process. In our previous CIP budgets, we have designated some money to go into revitalizing some of the things that are needed down at Nicholas Park. And so we had discussed about adding some multi-use sports fields, adding some sports field lighting. This is something that, in conjunction with some of the improvements that are currently being designed for the sports park, will hopefully help alleviate some of the concerns and needs that we have in our community for those wanting some sports fields. Also, there's some other issues at Nicholas Park that we wanted to address in adding some additional amenities and facilities down there. So to begin this process, we need to design it. We went through this process late last year where we released an RFP. We received quite a good amount of interest in this project. When we opened the bids, there were 10 individual companies that responded to us. We went through those responses, we scored those. They were scored by my staff, and then also one of our consultants at TransTech also submitted their scoring for each of these as well. And through that, we decided that we would award the contract to Community Works Design Group. We're very excited. There was a few things that stood out in their proposal that we thought were going to be a great benefit to us. One of the things that I want to see in our design teams is their emphasis on community outreach. And so that was their plan for community outreach and willingness to partner with us and getting feedback from the community when it comes to Nicholas Park and the Palmer Dog Park was a great part of their proposal, and so we're excited to do that. Also, in contacting other agencies who have worked with Community Works Design Group, reached out to some individuals in the city of Rialto. They just finished a large park, Frisbee Park rehabilitation up there, and that was a very large project over in the city of Rialto, and the city of Paris had great things to say about them. So I'm excited to bring this professional services agreement before council and to award it the construction documents and design and concept plans to Community Works Design Group and begin this process.
All right, thank you. And do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, questions for council or discussion?
Just a quick question, Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, so just, of course, it wasn't lowest bidder, so do we have leeway there, or does that not apply to these consultants as it does Public Works?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, we do have the ability in our code because it's a professional services agreement, not a Public Works project.
Public Works.
Yes.
Very good. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mr. White.
Yeah, so some of these items under the city's desired scope for the project will include the following between the two park sites. And then you list 5 different items here: pickleball courts, ball field lights, the dog park, and a baseball field.
Yes.
You mentioned that the consultant has, you like the consultant's concept of community outreach.
Mm-hmm.
To put this list together, these 6 items, have we already heard from the people who live in the neighborhood in that area that they do want a pickleball and they want a baseball field?
Yeah, we've been meeting with some of the residents who want that, but as part of this process, those have been individual conversations, people who've brought up concerns with the current design and the shortcomings of the current dog park. And so we've had numerous residents who have brought a laundry list of, hey, here's issues that we have with Nicholas Park and with Palmer Park. And so our hope is to solve some of those issues. There's some ball field issues. There's some these things that are listed in the staff report. So these are some of our concerns that we're bringing to CWD and saying, hey, this is what we expect to be solved, hopefully when we come to the concept plans and the full design. As part of that, we'll have an official community outreach program where we'll do pop-ups in the park, where we'll do some surveying, where we'll ask the community, especially at Fairway Canyon and that HOA, to provide that specific feedback. So these are more guiding principles. This is what we've heard from individuals in that area right now, as far as needs, and then we're going to confirm that with this process and going through the design process.
Yeah, I think that's really important because raising concerns is putting it politely. You know,
Correct.
we've heard from people, we didn't want any of what you've got there.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to make sure that before we make an investment in this, that it's not just a handful of people who are willing to come out to one or two
Absolutely.
meetings. We need buy-in from most of the community there.
Sure.
So I think if I'm assuming that the consultant who we're considering offering this to might be, paying attention to what we're saying tonight. And I just want to let them know that it needs to be a significant outreach before we put money into that park.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Doug, you made the comment about reaching out to the HOA. Any specific plans of how to do that, or are the HOA, are they helpful? I mean, I know the old-fashioned ways, you can get a flyer, stick it in their monthly bill, and out
Sure.
that goes, but a lot of people do stuff online, so.
Yeah, we work well with the HOA from Fairway Canyon. They do a lot of different events, and they're pretty consistent in turning in applications and doing community events that are at their clubhouse and in their parks and everything. And so they really have a good working relationship with us. So when it comes to that time where maybe we do the pop-ups in the park, or maybe we do presentations to their
pop-up
HOA
at
board.
one of their events
Yeah,
then?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. So they're really a great HOA to work
Okay,
with
good to
in our
hear.
community. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a motion, or, Mr. Martinez, you still have your light on?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to mention, that's why, and I'm glad the council took the direction of, in future, making sure the city has input on how the parks are done by the developer. Because that, we know what our communities want, or what it seems to want, more than the developer does. So by having that policy, I think that's gonna help in the future. So I just wanted to add that to.
Okay.
But is this, I can make a motion? If you'd like.
Yes, sir.
All right, so the motion would be to approve the purchase order for Community Works Design Group in the amount of $358,555. And authorize the city manager to authorize any necessary change orders in the amount not to exceed $35,855. And authorize the mayor to execute the professional service agreement for construction document and design services for CIP number P-05 and CIP number P-18.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll second that. A roll call, please. Sorry.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. On to item J5, the advertising program proposal, and that will be presented by Carrie Mendoza.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have before you a resolution and a staff report proposing a transit advertising proposal. So this would entail advertising on our buses, advertising at our bus shelters. As you know, we run about 22 vehicles in our fleet. We have over 140 stops. We cover 1,600 miles in an average weekday. We know that our fare box is increasing from the old 10% to 20% or a blended rate until 2027, 2028 year. So in an effort to gain revenue sources for the transit department, we sought out our neighbors. We looked at Sunline Transit Agency, Omnitrans, and Banning Connect. Just as a side note, RTA does not allow advertising on their buses or their shelters. We did look at that. That is not a policy they have. However, we kind of blended the three agencies, looked at their policies, looked at their resolution, and what you have before you is a proposal, including fees and a resolution to allow us to try to reach out to businesses and do some advertisement for our local businesses. The rates are an average. We looked at the average of those agencies that I mentioned. We also looked at staff time, that the costs that are incurred from reviewing the application. So we did do a blended rate between the analyst, the customer service coordinator, or maybe the mechanic that's headed out to maintain the bus shelter and post the advertisement or the proposal, and the manager as well. So that is captured in the rates that have been provided to you this evening. There is a policy in regards to advertising that has been vetted by legal, reviewed as far as what is allowed and disallowed for compliance in the advertising on the bus and the shelter. And then lastly, you have the advertising rates. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the policy or take any recommendations or changes you'd like staff to take back.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comments?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
All right, thank you. Questions for council? Mayor Pro Tem?
Just a couple.
Okay.
First of all, I really like the policy. I thought it was well-written, really covers at least concerns that I had. The only question I have really is just if it's possible to see what the size of the advertisement on the outsides of the buses would look like. And maybe if there's a picture of what we could see.
And I do
one
have
of the bus stop billboards, just to have an idea.
I do have some photos, and I made a copy for each council member if you'd like to take a look of, this. It's kind of like in the header on the bus that goes in a shield and then an advertisement across the back of the bus. I don't have any advertisements from the bus shelters themselves.
Oh, I think they're all the same. Yeah, the whole bunch is the same. Okay.
The bus shelters currently have large-scale advertisements on the side, and then we can apportion different sizes. There's a front and a back. Some of them are double-sided. So that's what Omnitrans does, and Sunline.
We wouldn't cover the size. We wouldn't impact our logos on the
No,
size. Oh, great. Okay.
no, we are
Okay.
not anticipating impacting the logo.
Great.
No, just the back, and then the bus shelters are a little different. They've got large inserts on on either side of it with a, welcome to Beaumont sign and, different, Beaumont elevated. We've got different logos at those, so we can look at, enhancing.
Thank you
the
very
actual
much for that.
shelter.
If there are no questions, I'll make a resolution.
Mr. Martinez has his light on.
Yeah, just a quick question, Mayor, on the ones on the bus shelters and that they go within the lucite, right, or within,
Correct.
and we're responsible for keeping those in case they're got into or damaged or fading and whatever.
Correct.
All right.
We will maintain it just like we do for cleanliness and that sort of thing.
Good. Okay.
And then if somebody wants to advertise, are they responsible for bringing us the poster in a
Print.
sense that goes in there and so
Correct.
forth?
And then we will post it.
And if it gets sun faded or whatever, then that's their responsibility to provide a new one and so on, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Very well.
You want to do that motion then for us?
Yep. Mayor, I'll make a motion to waive the full reading and adopt by title only a resolution of the City Council of Beaumont adopting the City of Beaumont Transit Advertising Program, including the City of Beaumont Transit advertising policy and rates.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. And on to item J6, which is approval of city attorney invoices for the month of December 2023.
Yes, and as an employee of SBEMP, I will recuse myself since these are my firm's invoices.
All right, thank you. Nicole, do we have any public comments on the matter?
I have no written requests. Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have no callers on the line.
Okay, questions from council or a motion?
Mayor, I'll make-
I have one question.
Okay.
Do we have an idea where we are on our budget with legal fees? Okay.
While she's looking that up, Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a question?
I was gonna make a motion.
Okay.
I'm okay with the motion being made. I would like to just know what the numbers are. It's not going to weigh my decision on the vote, so.
Okay, and Mr. Martinez, did
At
you have
mid-year,
something?
we're actually under budget, so we budgeted 1.5 million, and at mid-year, they're at roughly 645,000.
With how many more months to go?
6, so mid-year, so halfway
Mid-year.
through, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a second.
Okay, so no other, okay, so,
I'll make a motion to,
I thought you did.
make a motion to pay the total due of $102,465.48.
I'll second.
all right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Laura?
Yes.
Mayor Finn?
Yes, thank you. Council coming back in, okay. So item K, legislative updates and discussion on Ms. Taylor.
Hi, good evening, Mayor. I have for council, a draft of the 2024 legislative platforms. If you give me a minute, I'm gonna hand it out.
Go ahead.
So, as you may or may not recall, about a year ago, we brought this version of the legislative platform before council to be adopted. Prior to this, we had a much larger, like 15-ish page, maybe a little bigger platform. We've been able over the last year and a half to distill it down to items that are really relevant to the city and to council's position on maintaining local control and things like that. So essentially for this 2024 legislative platform, after discussing with the state's lobbying firm, RPPG, they're recommending no changes to the platform for this year. So what you're seeing, with the exception of the year, is basically identical to what we adopted last year. Discussing the forthcoming legislative issues that RPPG sees as relevant. It's going to be a lot more of the same that we have been dealing with over the last year or so. So that's their recommendation. Staff will be bringing this back for formal adoption at the February 6th council meeting. So I'm happy to take input over the next couple weeks on any items that you may have suggestions on, or comments, concerns, et cetera. Also happy to answer any questions you may have this evening.
Mr. Martinez, do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, so once this platform is formally adopted, then if there's something that needs a quick response before a council meeting, then staff could react appropriately, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, so then on to our economic development update. Will you be handling that as well?
I will. And no report this evening. Economic Development Committee meeting was not held this month.
Okay, thank you. And then on to our city treasurer's report.
Just wanted to inform everybody that on Monday, the 22nd, we will be having the Finance and Audit Committee meeting at 6 p.m. And besides that, we'll probably have more information in the following meeting.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
So where are we as far as what the Finance and Audit Committee are going to do regarding our audit? Are they pretty much finished for the last audit?
The 22-23 audit?
Yes, yeah.
That was adopted in December by
Okay,
City Council.
and are they involved in the budgeting process for the next year?
We haven't started that yet, but we will bring that to them. The next meeting will have like pension strategy, travel policy, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, just repeat
Yes.
the meeting date again.
Right, meeting date?
Monday, the 22nd,
6 p.m.?
6 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sure, thank you. Okay, city clerk's report.
I think we're good.
Okay,
Fine,
thank you. And city attorney, anything to add?
I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you for being here. And city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick announcements before I get into my individual reports. The Chamber Installation Luncheon is this Friday. We do have sponsorship and a table. So if you intend to join us, please let Nicole or Shannon know so that we make sure your name is at the door. City Magazine, our quarterly City Magazine hit every mailbox last week. And just so you know, it also hit every post office box because I got one. And that was a nice surprise. So good job to Julie and Ashley and Mercedes for putting that together. That is our first printed. It is still in electronic form, but every household has one now. The Vet Expo is this Saturday. I believe the mayor will probably speak on that under your reports. No? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Pen widening, we are done. Union Pacific still has some work to do, but we are done with that project on Monday at 10 a.m. Our congressman will be joining us, as will a bunch of dignitaries, RCTC, et cetera. At 10 a.m., we will be doing the ribbon cutting for the Penn widening. I am letting you all know that, and the public know, that there will be shuttles from City Hall to the site